Welcome, everyone, to Intensity Broadcasting for coverage of the iOS Truck Series. Tonight, these trucks will be taking on New Hampshire Motor Speedway for 100 laps. A little bit of short track racing for these trucks, and this should be a fun one. I know NASCAR recently has just raced here in the truck, so now we're here in the iOS Truck Series. This should be a fun one. I'm going to be your announcer for tonight, Atlee Atman-Weeson. Joining me tonight to call the action is fellow iRacer and member of the iRacing Oval Series, Dylan Redding. Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm fantastic, Atlee. I'm excited for what should be a great race tonight. 1 mile flat track here in New Hampshire. This race is going to be all about discipline and consistency, hitting those braking zones, getting off of the corner with as much momentum as possible, not spinning out, and hitting consistent lap times lap after lap for 100 laps here in New Hampshire. So I think it's going to be a great race. A lot on the line tonight as we face a playoff cutoff, so should be in for a good show.
Yep, all eyes are on the cutoff drivers. The drivers below the cutoff currently are Brian Merle Jr., Zach McBride, Eddie Morris, and Nick Mather. Merle Jr. is currently 7 points off of 8th place, Todd Mays. Todd is in 8th, and Josh Hall, another driver on the cutoff. So right now, your cutoff drivers for tonight, the names that we'll probably mention are going to be Josh Hall, Todd Mays, Brian Merle Jr., Zach McBride, Eddie Morris, and Nick Mather. So we got playoffs on the line, and then of course we got the race on the line. We're gonna really see a lot of the short track specialists come out tonight. Drivers like Isaiah Gill, Devin Buccino, Colin Willems, and maybe we might see some new faces that we don't normally mention come up through the field as well.
Yeah, and for those of you listening and watching who keep up with our Racing Oval Series regularly, our Cup Series recently came here to New Hampshire. Devin Buccino and Colin Willems battled all night long. Devin Buccino was able to get that win. And obviously the trucks are a little bit different, but I think that we're going to see that talent and that ability here at New Hampshire translate quite well. So I expect to see Colin Willems, Isaiah Gill, Devin Buccino, guys that have experience here in New Hampshire, have a chance to run well and possibly win this race.
And just from watching practice, I've seen a lot of drivers having trouble in the corners just from getting loose. We might see a wreck in every single corner tonight just because of how tricky this track is. I'm excited to see it. I know the previous broadcast that we just had with the LNS Customs late model series, we were also at New Hampshire, but that was in the late models. These trucks are running about 3/10 faster. They're flying around this track, and once again, this is going to be a fantastic rate right now. Colin Willems is on the top of the board here in practice. 30.55 is his lap time. 200ths off of him is Isaiah Gill. Then 100th off of him, it's Devin Buccino. 4th is Dave Wright. And 5th is Brandon White. Right now, the top 6 is all less than a 10th off of each other. The field is running very, very close. We're going to see some tight action. I don't think there's one single driver that we can expect to do good tonight.
Yeah, this track is deceiving, Atlee. With these flat, wide corners, you gotta slow the truck down early in order to go fast off. It's one of those sort of cliche sayings. Slow is fast. But at the same time, if you don't set your truck up right and angle it the right way, as you said, you might just spin the thing out on exit. It's very tricky, and it can be deceiving if you rely too much on your eyesight. And like I said, these guys are in for a challenge. We transition now to qualifying, and for qualifying, the mindset of these drivers changes a little bit. They've got to get everything they can out of this truck in just a 2-lap stint. And talking about how you can spin out on corner exit, that's especially true when you're focused on getting as much speed as possible. So these guys have a challenge here in qualifying as we see guys start to take the track.
Yeah, right now we're watching Gannon Cyphers. We got Merle Jr., Morris, Benfield, Hall, all of them on track right now, getting ready to set their laps. And probably short tracks are definitely one of the most difficult tracks to set a good qualifying run at, just because of how short amount of time you have a very, very short amount of time to build up as much momentum on the straightaways.
Yeah, that's right. And you rely a lot on grip as well. And when you've got cold tires right out of the pits and you're trying to turn too quick qualifying laps, a lot of times that grip isn't there. So it feels weird, and you don't have a lot of time to react or anticipate what's going to happen.
Right now, we see Stoney Benfield on the top of the board, the only driver to make it into the 30s right now, 30.81. Eddie Morris ties that with a 30.81. So right now, we got a tie for first. Gannon Cyphers in third, 31.29 is his time. Let's see how everybody does on lap number 2. We see Brian Merle Jr., one of the drivers on the playoff cutoff. He gets to third, 31.12 is his lap time right now.
Looks like he gets in the wall there a little bit. That's probably going to take away this lap.
Yeah, that's definitely going to hurt his run. You definitely kind of have to be a little bit mistake-free here in these qualifying runs if you want to get a good lap. And, yeah, he's slowing down. Josh Hall able to take advantage of Merle Jr. making that mistake, and he gets to third with a 31 flat. But right now, Stoney Benfield on the top of the board. You love to see Stoney doing a great job.
Yeah, Stoney's a talented driver. We saw him get a podium finish just a few weeks ago here in the Truck Series. And, yeah, I wouldn't count him out. I think that he's one name that we can keep track of, especially if he's going to have a top starting position here on the grid.
Looks like last week's winner, Kyle Mays, was able to break into the top 3, 30.93. Last week, he ended up winning after only leading 4 laps during the race, and he took advantage of the fact that Brian Newty ended up running out of fuel on the final lap, and he jumps to the top of the board. He's about 100th faster than what Stoney and Eddie ran. 30.80 is his fastest time on lap number 2. Great job for Kyle Mays, trying to make it 2 in a row and get his 3rd win of the season here tonight at New Hampshire.
Yeah, who said you take it easy once you've locked yourself into the next round of the playoffs? Kyle is looking to extend his momentum with a great finish tonight, and so far, so good, as that was an impressive qualifying effort with a 30.8.
Yeah, and the more points, the merrier for a driver like Kyle Mays. He's only 1 point off the lead, and your current points leader, Stephen Black, I have to say, I don't even see him in this session.
Yeah, it looks like was not able to make it tonight, and that might be the end of his playoff run, depending on how the points shake out. I have to imagine he would have a difficult time earning enough points in just the previous race rather than this one.
Yeah, so I think with the fact that Stephen Black out of this race, I think you can expect Kyle Mays to take the point standings lead if he can have a good run tonight. Of course, third, we have Brian Newty, 4th, Isaac Gill, 5th, Colin Willems. Those 2 drivers also doing very, very well as well here in the iOS Truck Series. We got Todd Mays on track right now, one of your playoff bubble drivers. Let's see if he can get a good qualifying run here. And the cool thing about New Hampshire is there's a bunch of different grooves where you can see drivers running the top and you can see drivers running the bottom, and both lines can be successful, and a lot of it can depend on, how worn are the tires.
Yeah, and they're very different, Atlee. If you choose to go low in the corner, that changes how you have to approach corner entry and when you have to hit the brakes. You're going to get more speed carried into the corner, and you're going to, of course, take the shorter way around the racetrack on the bottom, but you're going to get a lot less speed on exit, and that's going to allow the truck above you to most likely get a run off the corner and pass you back on the straightaway. So sort of a conflicting strategy between the top and the bottom, and I think that will make for some great side-by-side action tonight.
You see Todd Mays able to break into the top 5 on his first lap. 30.94 is his time. We see TJ Floyd in 5th. 30.94 is also TJ's time. I think it's going to have to come to the thousandths between those two. Let's see if Todd Mays can improve on his second lap. And he does. Wow. He's able to beat Kyle and jump to the top. Only driver to be in the 30.7s. 30.78 is Todd's time. This is great for him. Todd is trying to fend off Merle Jr. and the rest of the drivers below the cutoff line to try to stay in the playoffs and make it to the round of 8. And that's a great way to start off tonight's race.
Yeah, Kyle May is not going to appreciate getting knocked off by his family member there. But, all's fair in love and war, and these guys are out here racing. So congrats to Todd on beating Kyle, and I'm sure that they're going to have a little joke about that probably right now in the chat.
Right now, currently, we see Brandon White able to get to 5th. 30.87 is his lap time. Let's see if he can improve here. Brandon White. And he does. He jumps to the top of the board. He was about 200ths faster than Todd Mays. What a lap time there for Brandon White. We've seen a lot of lead changes. Went from Stoney Benfield to Kyle Mays to Todd Mays and now Brandon White. Who's next to break into the top?
And we've still got some fast drivers who have yet to qualify. Isaiah Gill, Colin Williams, Devin Bacino, our top 3 or 4 in practice have not qualified yet. And you know, Atlee, it's interesting, the strategy that goes into when do you qualify. I know that for me, I don't like to wait till the end. It would just drive me crazy knowing what lap times other people have turned. I like to get out there quick and turn my lap. But it looks like some of these guys are holding back, looking to turn a lap at the very end.
We see Nick Mather, who is currently last in the playoff standings. He could do for a great finish tonight. He breaks into the top 3. 30.79 is his lap time. He was only 300ths off of your leader, Brandon White. So great job there for Nick Mather, who is trying to get a great finish to maybe potentially squeak into the round of 8.
Looks like we've got about 2 minutes left here. Have to see who takes the track here at the end.
We got the camo machine of Michael White gets to 2nd right behind Brandon. 30.77 is his lap time, and that was only on his first lap. If he can keep up the momentum, he might even improve and beat Brandon White.
Looks like he's not going to quite be able to do it.
He was very close to his original lap time, so Michael White having to settle for 2nd here. And we just now have the fast cars getting on the track right now. But before, we see Colin Williams, who was in your top 3 in practice. He gets to the top of the board. 30.72 is his lap time, and that's about 400ths faster than your previous leader, Brandon White. Great job for Colin Williams, and that was also on his first lap. Could he potentially break into the 30.6s or get a 30.70? Let's see. It'll be hard, but Colin Williams with a 30.61. Wow. What a time for him. He's able to beat both Isaiah Gill and Devin Bacino, who both are in the top 3.
Yeah, Devin Bacino still on his 2nd lap, I believe. Isaiah as well. I think Colin is finished, though, with that 30.6, which was a fantastic lap.
I don't know. I think Isaiah Gill, he was fast in practice. He might have a chance to beat Colin here. No, 30.64 is Isaiah's 2nd lap. And in fact, Devin Bacino beats that with a 30.63, but both Isaiah and Devin are 200ths off of Colin Williams. Now, before we get too much in the racing action, I also do want to talk about the team standings. We talk about the playoff standings, but we always still have to pay attention to the team championships. And right now, YXU Racing is on the top currently. They don't have any wins this season, but they have 2 very good drivers on the team, Colin Williams and Nick Mather, who both are in the playoffs. 2nd is Team Mays. Todd and Kyle have had a great season, so it's no wonder that we see Team Mays in the top 3. 2 Pedals, 1 Clutch is 3rd. Brian Nudie and Brian Merle Jr. have had some great seasons. Intensity Racing Team is 4th. Intensity Racing Team has had a rough few races, but Josh Hall has still been able to get some great finishes, and he's looking to try to make it to the round of 8. And last but not least, 5th is Operators Racing. Isaiah Gill, who's had a great last few races, has definitely helped Operators Racing do very well in the point standings. Now let's take a look here at the starting lineup, and starting on the pole with a scorching lap time of 30.607. Colin Williams is starting on the pole. Outside of him with Carolina Sim Racing, it's Devin Bacino. 3rd is Isaiah Gill. Outside of him, it's Brandon White. And then rounding out your top 5, the 09 of Michael White.
6th, we've got Todd Mays. 7th, Nick Mather, Facebook's most favorite driver. 8th, we got Brian Canuti, who's going to be one to watch all night long. 9th, we have Kyle Mays. And 10th, we have Stoney Benfield.
11th place, one of the drivers under the cutoff, Eddie Morris, is starting 11th. Outside of him with Intensity Racing Team, it's Dave Wright. Then in 13th, we have TJ Floyd. He's got one win this season. Outside of him, it's Zach McBride. And then rounding out your top 15, it's playoff driver Josh Hall.
16th, we've got Mays Mafia's adopted son, Mark Shavers. 17th, Junior Nation on its feet for Brian Merle Jr. 18th, Colton Kinsey. 19th, Michael Pervold. And 20th, Gannon Cyphers.
21st, we got Mr. Keith Miller. Outside of him, we have Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence of Two Pedals, One Clutch fame. Zachary Cox is 23rd. Mike Rentz 24th. And rounding out your top 25, fans are on their feet. We have Sylvan Seguin with Cyclone Racing.
And it looks like Bailey Jones is going to be our race control tonight. Derek Chaput is on the leaderboard here. Did not turn a qualifying lap. I'm not sure I see him on the grid.
He's there. We see the...
Oh, there he is. All right. So, yeah, Derek Chaput's going to round out our field tonight. He's one of those guys that always seems to be there at the end, Atlee. So I wouldn't put it past him to make his way through this field.
Agreed. I think in the final few laps, we're going to definitely be saying his name for sure. Watch out for Derek Chaput, of course. His rate machine was definitely the #1 seller at the merchandise stands with the Coco Melon machine. And I don't know, we don't actually have any merch right now, but that could be coming in the future for Mr. Derek Chaput. Be watching for some merch for him. But here we go. I think we only have one lap around New Hampshire, so we're getting ready to go green this time by.
And look for these drivers to struggle with grip on these first couple laps. Let's see if they can take it easy and get themselves around this track.
Pace car is in, and green flag is out here. 100 laps of racing is taking place here at New Hampshire. We are side by side for the lead as we come here through turns 1 and 2. Devin Buccino has the nose, but we see Colin Willems fighting back. They're pretty much equal as we go into the back stretch. This is exactly the racing that we expect to see here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, you can tell these guys are looking for... Oh, we got a spin up
Devin
front.
Buccino is around, but can he save it? Oh, yes, he does. He saves it, but he loses a ton of track position. This is going to put Colin Willems in the lead. Very, very aggressive early on for Colin Willems. He's going to try to keep the lead as here comes Isaiah Gill in the Monster Energy machine. He's looking to try to set up the pass here on Colin Willems in the next couple of laps. Behind Isaiah Gill, third place, we have Michael White. He's also looking to try to make a bid to get to the lead as well.
Wow, what a turn of events, Atlee. I bet Devin is just seeing red right now. Colin Willems, most likely, I'm sure, inadvertently getting into the side of Devin, knocking him loose. Magnificent save. Devin is going to, unfortunately, go back to about 8th or 9th place. Colin is going to take sole possession of the lead, but that could have been so much worse than it was if Devin had gone around in front of the whole field. A fantastic save by Devin, and these guys are going to continue racing.
Agreed. I definitely applaud Devin Buccino there for getting the fantastic save. Like you said, it could have been a whole lot worse. But right now, we're seeing these trucks really start to get their tires warmed up. These drivers are turning probably... Oh, no, we see a wreck. Devin Buccino. I'm not sure what happened, but we will get the replay up. This is the second time that we've seen Devin Buccino get involved in something after that little incident that we saw with Colin Willems. Let's take a look at what happened. So Devin Buccino was running. He had TJ Floyd, and I believe that is Josh Hall behind him. No, that's actually David Wright.
Yeah, I think we're going to see David come low in the corner here. And these guys are just headed for the same spot of real estate.
Just washes up the track a little bit right into Buccino's rear quarter panel.
I'm sure Devin had no idea David was there. No way to see him coming. David misjudging Devin's line, I suppose, and unfortunately they come together.
Yep, man. Already, we've only completed, I believe, like 5 laps throughout this race, and we're already seeing a few drivers having disastrous races so far. We see a bunch of drivers coming into the pits, including Dave Wright, who I believe might have some damage from that incident. Michael Provolt is in, Derek Chaput, Michael Lawrence, Devin Buccino. I will say it also might be smart to come in, if you're in the back of the pack and you have nothing to lose, might be smart to come in and just top off on fuel.
Yeah, not a bad idea. If you're not going to give up too much track position, why not try to get a leg up on the fuel strategy? Devin Buccino, keep in mind, is not a playoff driver. However, he did win in New Hampshire in the Cup Series. He's always strong at this track. I know that he was planning on making a bid for his his second win, I believe, of the season here in the Truck Series. Yep. So disappointing so far, but I wouldn't count him out. I think that after getting the fast repair, he's going to have a lot of speed, and hopefully he's going to be able to make his way through the field. Yeah,
Devin Buccino didn't go a lap down, so he's still in contention for this thing, but he's got a tall task of making his way up through the field for sure. So far, when the green flag dropped, your biggest mover is going to be the 81 of Josh Hall. Josh started in the 15th position, and he was able to avoid a lot of the accidents and made some great passes, and he is up into the top 10. Josh needs a very, very good finish tonight if he wants to make it into the round of 8. He's currently sitting on that bubble in 7th place right now, and only 8 drivers will advance to the second round.
Josh Hall with, I'm hearing he's got some VR goggles tonight, so Josh Hall trying those out for the first time with a lot on the line. So far, so good, though, as he has moved all the way up to the 9th position.
Yeah, from what I've heard, switching to VR is a life-changing experience. I know pretty much everybody on Intensity Racing Team has VR goggles, and all I've heard from them is just rave reviews. So VR kind of becoming the preferred way to race for a lot of drivers on iRacing. It's becoming more and more popular, I've seen.
Yeah, I've heard that if you get car sick or you don't like roller coasters, you probably shouldn't try it. So I've avoided it so far for that reason. But one of these days, I might have to give it a shot.
I agree. Maybe this winter I might break out the goggles and try it out. But right now we're getting ready to go back green. Colin Willems is going to be restarting on the bottom. Isaiah Gill is going to be restarting on the top. Let's see what happens. I don't know if we might see Colin Willems maybe switch where he's starting, but I think the first place driver is going to pretty much choose the bottom every single time here on these restarts, unless, somebody prefers it.
Well, we saw some action up front on the first start. Let's see if these guys can have a little bit of a cleaner beginning here. As Colin and Isaiah are going to start this thing off side by side, something we've seen a lot this season.
Yep, here we come. We're waiting on the pace car. Pace car is in. Green flag is back out. There we go. We see Colin Willems taking off like a rocket, and he is able to get clear of Isaiah Gill. Side by side for third between Brian Nudie and Michael White. Michael White sends it there into the corner. Here comes Isaiah Gill looking to the outside of Colin Willems, but he can't get side by side with him. Michael White almost clear of Brian Nudie as we head here into turns 3 and 4. I'd say we'll see Michael White up to third in the next few laps.
Brian Canuti, though, with a lot of momentum on the high side, he might be able to clear Michael here. Michael, though, with a pretty good run, he's going to fall into line behind Brian. And you just see the advantage that these guys can get on the high side when they're able to roll the corner and get a lot of speed corner exit.
I agree. I mean, and another thing is that it's so hard to pass here at New Hampshire. From what I saw in the previous late model race, drivers were struggling tremendously to make passes, and I think we might see the same here right now. Isaiah Gill just trying his hardest to get up there to Colin Willems. 2 playoff drivers going at it right now.
Yeah, they say in road course racing that passing is done under braking. It's about out-braking your opponent. And New Hampshire, in a way, is similar. You have to get heavy on the brakes approaching these corners, almost similar to the way Martinsville is. And the person who can do that more efficiently and roll the corners well often is the one that can make a pass.
Agreed, and I think Isaiah Gill is trying to do just that to get up there to Colin Willems. Still, he hasn't gotten too much of a run, whether running on the high or bottom, so we'll see as we currently have 10 of 100 completed. There goes Isaiah Gill sending it into turns 1 and 2. He's gotten to about Willems' rear quarter panel, but in the end, he has to fall back behind him.
Yeah, Isaiah sends one in there, and a lot of times when you carry that much momentum into the start of the corner, you get tight and wash up the track, and that's what happened to Isaiah there. He had to get out of the throttle, and it allowed Colin to go back by.
Here comes Michael White and Brian Nudie. They're back side by side. These two have been battling for a little bit, but once again, Michael White goes right back behind Nudie. Michael White just really, really struggling to get by Nudie. Brian doing a great job playing defense, running that high line, and he's doing a great job running it.
And this battle is going to allow Kyle Mays and Eddie Morris to get up there and perhaps make a bid for that position as well, as we've got these 4 trucks crowded together here in a pretty good battle.
Still, we see Isaiah Gill just trying his hardest to get up there to Colin Willems. That time by, they're both running pretty much identical lap times. I think right now, from what it's looking like, I think if Isaiah Gill can get up to the back bumper of Colin Willems, I'd say Isaiah might try to go up to the high side.
Yeah, it's certainly the preferred lane when you're driving defensively, guarding against someone underneath you.
And we have a caution.
We've got looks like 3 trucks involved on the backstretch.
Oh no, one of them is Gannon Cyphers, who is making, I believe, his first appearance all season long. Let's see what happened to him. Let's see, Cyphers was side by side with Michael Lawrence, and from what it looks like, I think Lawrence might have bounced up the track a little bit and right into Gannon Cyphers. Also, a separate incident, we see the 019 is also around. I'm going to rewind and see what happened to him. It had nothing to do with the one that we saw between Cyphers and... Looks like Kinsey hit the wall in front of him, and I think Michael White was trying to go down to not hit Colton, and he went right down, right into Devin Buccino. Yeah,
Brandon and Devin were battling for that position, and unfortunately Colton with a big check up there hitting the wall, and there really was nowhere for Devin to go, nowhere for Brandon to go. And I don't know if the wreck behind them was a bit of a response to seeing that smoke up ahead, or if it was completely independent, but all in all, about 5 or 6 trucks involved in getting some damage there on this incident.
All right, let's see. So we are back under caution, and so far, Colin Willems has led from flag to flag here at New Hampshire, has done a great job and showed just how good he is at these short tracks.
Yeah, we're about 15 laps in now, Atlee, and I think these guys probably will still be feeling like their tires are fairly fresh given the cautions that we've had. But I think that Colin's done a good job settling in. Isaiah's made some attempts at getting alongside him, but for the most part has followed him from behind. And I think that their focus has been on turning consistent laps and holding off Ryan Canuti and hopefully trying to stay out front all night long. So far so good for Colin and Isaiah.
Now, right now, while we're under caution, I do want to talk about currently, we talked about the biggest mover who at the time was Josh Hall, and it still kind of is. Josh has done a great job. He's still in 9th right now, but right now, the biggest loser right now of positions is Brandon White. And after he got in that previous incident, and that hurt him tremendously. Brandon, he was running up front. He was doing great. In fact, he started in the 4th position inside the top 5, and now he is running in 25th, which is second to last. Brandon White has just had such a tough break throughout this race. It's been a nightmare night for him so far.
Yeah, he hit the inside wall very hard there, and I imagine he had to take a fast repair, put him in the back of the field. But there's still a lot of racing left. We've only 16 laps into a 100-lap race, so by no means is he out of it.
And luckily for Brandon, he's not a playoff driver, so anything that happens is not going to affect him playoff-wise, but still, he's going to try to get a good overall points finish between all the non-playoff drivers.
Interesting note here, Atlee. Devin Buccino was given an EOL for that incident.
Really?
Race control deeming it to be the fault of Devin Buccino. I only know what I saw on replay, but it really seemed like he had nowhere to go there. So unfortunate turn there for Devin, as this has just not been his night.
Yeah, I mean, such a rough night for Devin Buccino. And now with that, him falling back, he's going to be the biggest faller so far throughout this race. I don't know if he's ever going to catch a break, as It's been wreck after wreck after wreck for him. Let's see if he can make his way back up to the field here during this next restart. So just like last restart, Colin Williams is going to be restarting on the bottom, Isaiah Gill on the top. Here we go. All right. Pace car is in. And green flag is out. We see Colin Williams taking off. And Brian Nudie with a great restart. He's looking under Isaiah as we're side by side here through turns 1 and 2. Isaiah on the high side. He has the nose over Nudie, but he can't quite get clear. And there we go. Ooh. Yeah, he's pretty much clear right now. So Brian Nudie trying to just set up the pass running on the bottom and get back by Isaiah.
Oh, we got a spin, Atlee.
Oh no, caution flag is back out right after the green flag came out. I am not entirely sure what happened.
It looked like Kyle Mays was around and maybe tapped the wall a little bit, but for the most part, able to straighten it out and keep going, but enough for iRacing to throw the yellow flag.
Yeah, here's what happened. We see Eddie Morris was looking under Kyle Mays here. And, oh, Eddie just got into Kyle's rear quarter panel. We see Kyle gets around. Eddie hitting him again.
Yeah, and that's what straightened him out, not the wall. It was Eddie himself. So a little bit of a pinball there.
It doesn't look like anybody else was involved. Ooh. Nope, yep, Dave Wright able to avoid that. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would have called that a race on, but obviously the simulator disagrees. So we're under caution for our third time tonight.
And all of the leaders coming into the pits right now. Interesting decision. Let's see who's going to win the race off and see if anybody stays out. There we see Colin Williams coming into frame. Yep. Colin Williams is going to win the race off of pit road. Then it's Isaiah Gill. Then it's Nudie. Then it's going to be Gannon Cyphers. He's in the top 10. And then it's going to be Michael White. So I will say the drivers that stayed out include Dave Wright. He stayed out. Derek Chaput stayed out. Todd May stayed out. Michael Provolt stayed out. Zachary Cox stayed out. And Michael Lawrence stayed out.
And Atlee, these guys have 3 sets of tires tonight, so opted to take the first set here on lap 20. Maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, but these guys, want to take the opportunity to get tires under caution. Certainly understand that. But so they're looking at doing about 80 more laps here with only 2 more sets of tires left in the pits.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to have fresh tires, as fresh tires as possible, but the main thing I'm worried about is these current leaders right now, Dave Wright and Derek Chaput. These drivers with fresh tires, I mean, they're going to be coming up through the field fast. I don't know how long Dave and Derek are going to be able to hold first and second.
Yeah, just to correct myself, Atlee, the 3 sets of tires includes the ones they started on, so they've now got 1 final set of tires remaining in the pits. So presumably they'd be looking to only come into the pits 1 more time tonight.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, I would try to split it in thirds, ideally. So I think that's what these drivers maybe are trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe 33, 35 laps would be most ideal, but you can't always choose when the cautions happen. And
right.
Clearly, almost the entire field agreed that it was time to pit. So,
but a few people didn't, like Dave Wright and Derek Chaput. That we're gonna see how well their choice to stay out is gonna pay off. As there we see the lights on the pace car, they've turned off, so we're getting ready to go back to green. Davey's gonna be restarting on the bottom. Derek Chaput restarting on the top.
And a lot of times when you're in the back and you don't have track position, like we've seen with Derek tonight, sometimes it makes sense to just go for an alternate strategy. If it works out, you look like a genius. If it doesn't work out, well, you were back there anyway. So it seems like Derek is saying, you know what, I'm going to stay out and I'm gonna pit later, and I'm going to see if things go my way.
All right, here we go. It is all on the pace car. We're waiting for him to pull in, and then it'll be, we're going to let Dave Wright control the start. Pace car's in. And green flag is back out. There we see Dave Wright taking off, and he's able to get clear. Todd Mays gets a great restart. He's going to try to look under Derek Chaput here as we go into turns 1 and 2. Todd to about Derek's rear quarter panel.
David's going to set sail here and take off for the lead, but the battle is for second place as Derek Chaput looks like he's got the advantage. Oh, but he's fallen back, and just like that, Todd Mays takes the position.
What a run for Todd Mays. Man, great job for him. But here comes, we're 3 wide almost. Derek Chaput almost clipped Todd's rear quarter panel. Here comes Zachary Cox looking low under Derek Chaput, and he's able to fly right by. Derek Chaput losing a ton of spots, and here comes Colin Willems, the first driver on fresh tires. He's knocking out all of the, oh, and we see a caution.
Stoney Benfield is around.
Oh, no. He was having a great run. That's, man, hate to hear that. Let's see what happened. So we see Stoney Benfield had Mike Rentz in front of him. Behind him, it's Colton Kinsey.
Looks like Colton's going to dive underneath here. We've seen that happen several times tonight.
Oh, right into the rear quarter panel. I just think, Colton might have gotten a little bit bigger of a run than he had expected, and the run went right into Stoney.
Yeah, and in New Hampshire, you can see where the groove is. You can see the pavement change from that rough, dark asphalt on the top to the smooth lower line. And you can expect that drivers are going to sort of straddle that line and stay underneath that dark portion for the most part. And so some of these guys, I think, need to work on judging what their opponents are doing. We've seen it several times tonight where a car goes underneath another truck and they make contact trying to take away each other's lines. And unfortunately, it's leading to some incidents.
Yeah, and I'd say, Dylan, we're going to just continue to see that. But right now, we see a bunch of drivers in the pits. Kyle Mays, Eddie Moore, Stoney Benfield, Zach McBride, Mike Rentz, Sylvan Seguin, Brandon White, all coming in. But the drivers that stayed out and didn't take tires last time are still staying out. Drivers like Dave Wright and Todd Mays, Zachary Cox, they're still staying out. But I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to hold off Colin Willems.
Yeah, that green flag run was about 2 laps, so I suppose not much in the calculus of things has changed here. If you didn't want to pit last time, it doesn't make a lot of sense to pit now. But I think if you're Derek, you're hoping that this next run doesn't last too long. You wouldn't want to go more than another 10 or 12 laps before hopefully you're able to come in and pit. Otherwise, you're going to have to pit under green and lose an awful lot of track position.
So right now, currently, one driver that I'm just continuing to watch out for is Mr. Derek Chaput. He started in the back, and we were saying how we were going to see him up front eventually. Here he is in 5th right now. In these next couple of laps, I think we're definitely going to see him fighting for that top spot.
Yeah, I believe he's on old tires, Atlee, so he's definitely going to be fighting, but it might be from behind. I know he's surrounded by trucks who probably are going to have a lot more grip. But I said at the beginning that we'd see him find a way to be in the mix, and he certainly has lived up to that.
For sure, for sure. I believe this time by we're going to see the lights on the pace car go off, so we're going to check out this next restart. Let's see. Lights on the pace car are off. Here we go. So we're going to have Dave Wright restarting on the bottom, Todd Mays restarting on the top. Behind them, it's Zachary Cox and Colin Willems.
We're going to be taking the green flag here on lap 29 of 100, almost 1/3 of the way through this race. Still a lot of time to make moves, plenty of reasons to continue to be patient out there. Let's see if these guys can put together a green flag run.
Yep, let's see what happens. Waiting for that pace car to come in. I know both Dave Wright and Todd Mays do have a little bit of damage. We'll see how much that affects them. I just now noticed. Pace car is in, and green flag is back out. There goes Dave Wright taking off. He's able to get clear of Todd Mays. Zachary Cox with a great restart. But here...
Todd Mays able to anticipate David's jump a little bit better that time. Able to, for the most part, stick with David and not let him get away. But he's under fire as Zachary Cox goes low. And looks like Todd Mays is in the infield, able to save it. What a save by TJ back there. Excuse me, TJ was the one that was around. But we race on.
We see Todd Mays washes up the track a little bit, and Zachary Cox is able to take advantage of that and fly right by. Zach now going to set his sights on Dave Wright, who has got himself a 6/10 lead right now over the rest of the field, and I think he's hoping to try to continue to extend it. Here comes Isaiah Gill looking under Todd Mays for 4th. He's also on fresher tires. He's the second driver with fresher tires behind Colin Willems, and he's got the nose over Todd Mays as we go on here onto the backstretch.
Of course, we saw Colin and Isaiah lead the first portion of this race before pit stops mixed up the field, and they are working their way back to where they belong, towards the front. Now they're going to set their sights on Zachary Cox, who's showing a lot of speed right now.
I will say this, Dave Wright just ran his fastest lap time of the race, so right now, with old tires, this is the fastest Dave's truck has been all night. Same thing with Zachary Cox. It's interesting to see that. We see Colin Willems continuing to reel in Zachary Cox right now. Willems about a 10th faster than Zach. Let's see. I don't know if he's going to try to look high or look low when he's going to try to pass Zach here.
Zach running a pretty low line for the most part around this track. Probably would allow Colin to get a look on the high side if he wanted it. But when you do that, you kind of open yourself up to getting pushed up the track towards the wall and out of the groove, which will really set you back. So you got to be careful about when you make your move.
Ooh, we see Colin Willems and Zachary Cox almost make contact there, but Colin Willems able to get right by and into second place. So, Dave Wright is going to have to hold on against some drivers with fresher tires. Still, Dave has a 7/10 lead, but I don't know how long that's going to last for him.
Yeah, David, he's doing a great job managing his race, leading this race right now. His battle isn't really with Colin and Isaiah. He understands that he's on a different pit strategy, a different pit cycle. I'm sure he's going to fight to maintain this lead, but at the end of the day, giving up these spots to fresher tires is not really the issue, as he's hoping that his pit strategy pays off towards the end of this race.
Yeah, I don't know. We've had probably our longest green flag run of the race. It's been some great racing between a lot of the front drivers, between drivers with fresh tires and drivers with old tires. And there we see Isaiah Gill finally able to make it by Zachary Cox and into 3rd. So now we're side by side between Michael White and Zachary Cox right now.
And don't forget that David Wright's going to be able to pit, take tires, and still have an additional set left in the pits, whereas the rest of these guys have already made their pit stop, and they're not going to want to take new tires again until we reach the closing stages of the race. So the longer we stay green, it may work to David's advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, when you say it like that, I mean, Dave, when you think about it, I mean, Dave Wright's strategy doesn't seem so bad. I mean, like you said, if he comes in and takes tires, he's still going to have one set available, while that might not be the case for drivers like Colin Willems and Isaiah Gill. So, and I mean, still, even with older tires, Dave Wright is still running very, very good, and he's been able to hold off Colin Willems so far.
Yeah, the downside, Allie, is the gamble is that David hasn't put fuel in his truck yet tonight, as far as I know. And if he runs out of fuel and has to pit under green during this run, that's going to be a big problem for him. He's going to go at least one lap down. So he's hoping that at some point in the next 10, 15 laps that there's a caution, I imagine.
Now look at this. Devin Buccino has had such a rough race, is into the top 10 currently, and he is trying to get up there to Brian Nudi in 6th right now. 6 tenths separate these two. What a story for Devin Buccino. It's been a roller coaster of a race for him.
I wouldn't even call it up and down, Allie. It's mostly been down, 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 but he is working his way back up through the field, exhibiting that speed that we know he's got here in New Hampshire. Looks like he's going to make quick work again in Cyphers, I believe, or no, not again in Cyphers, Zachary Cox, who's struggling to maintain pace with these trucks with fresher tires. So it's going to be up to 7th place for Devin Buccino.
Yep, and Devin Buccino now is right up there on Brian Nudi. He's right up to the back bumper. I'd say we expect him to make a move in the next few laps.
Colin Williams is catching David Wright. There's no question about that, but it hasn't happened as quickly as we thought. As you said, the tire advantage may have evened out a little bit as this run has continued. It looks like he's going to try to take a peek at David on the low side, and we'll probably be able to get around him, but it's been a lot more challenging than Colin may have anticipated.
Yep, let's see what he's going to try to do. Now it's looking like he might try to go to the outside, and you got to remember Colin Williams has to make a pass fast. He doesn't want Dave Wright to hold him up too much because he's got a hard charge and Isaiah Gill right behind him.
That's right. You know, I feel like I say this every week, but racing is one of those sports where you got to play offense and defense at the same time. Colin wants to get around David for the lead. Got to hold off Isaiah Gill right behind him simultaneously, and that can make for a difficult position for a driver.
Ooh, Colin Williams almost clipped Dave Wright's rear quarter panel. There we see Isaiah Gill looking to the high side above Colin Williams. It looks like we're at a super speedway. I don't know if, let's see. This is wild right here. We were almost 3 wide there. What is Colin Williams going to do?
And as you were talking, Allie, we've got 3 trucks around in the infield. Todd Mays was involved. Multiple trucks spun out. No caution. That's a really tough break for those guys. They're all back on track, I believe, with some damage. A big incident on the backstretch that did not bring out a caution flag.
And I will say that's going to be especially bad for Todd Mays just because he is currently on the playoff bubble. He is the first driver above the cutoff line, and a bad finish is definitely going to hurt him.
And that's probably frustrating for David Wright. His strategy has worked out so well so far, and that was his caution, the caution he was waiting for, and the flag did not fly.
We see Isaiah Gill and Dave Wright actually made a little bit of contact. The leaders, they just blew right by him, and yeah, I think Dave Wright has got to be frustrated about the fact that the caution didn't come out. But, I mean, nevertheless, he's still running top 3, and I think maybe in the next few laps we might start to see green flag pit stops. Who knows? Right now, we do have a battle for the lead right now, though. Isaiah Gill is continuing to catch up to Colin Williams right now. These two have been battling all race long, but it's mainly been Colin Williams who has led between these two. Isaiah Gill hasn't been able to make a pass, but could this be the first time that we see Isaiah Gill get it by Colin Williams?
And about 2 seconds behind these leaders, we have Brian Canuti and Devin Buccino in 4th and 5th, about 2 seconds back. So those guys have settled in. They're no longer battling each other, but they're maintaining not that sizable of a distance behind the leaders. So they're certainly in the mix, and they're showing that they've got speed to carry forward to the end of this race.
Isaiah Gill is just continuing to peek up to the top, peek up to the bottom, just trying to decide where he wants to go to get by Colin Williams. I mean, he was right up there on that his back bumper there through the front stretch. We're going to see him make a pass any moment now.
Yeah, Colin's just very consistent in running the same line every lap. He knows that he's got the advantage just because it's so hard to pass at New Hampshire. Isaiah may be faster, but it's difficult to pass, and Colin knows that if he hits his marks, it's going to be very difficult, very hard for Isaiah to get it done.
Yep, the main problem that we see when drivers are passing each other is we're seeing drivers maybe wash up the track a little bit or wash down the track, hugging that yellow line to the point where the faster driver can go up to the top and just fly right by on the outside.
We're approaching the halfway mark here as Colin's going to be crossing the start-finish line to begin lap 48. So now we're going to start to wonder how long can these guys go in fuel? When is the pit stop going to need to be made? Keep in mind, these guys only have one more set of tires. These guys have pitted already. So I imagine they're going to be looking to stay out as long as they possibly can so that they have as fresh tires as possible for the end of the race.
I agree. I think that's going to be the strategy. I don't know how fuel's going to look right now. I know normally on these short tracks the trucks have a decent tank of fuel, so I don't know if fuel's ever going to become an issue. It might, though. I know probably Colin Williams and Gill came in to take fuel when they came in to take tires, while drivers like Dave Wright, who when he came in and he didn't come in and he didn't take tires, and he also didn't technically take fuel, so he's got a little bit of a lower of a tank than everybody else.
And by the way, Devin Bacino was able to get around Brian Canuti, so that puts Devin up into the 4th position, currently about 3 seconds behind our leaders, Colin Williams and Isaiah Gill.
Yep, right now, the field's starting to get very, very spread out at the halfway point. So right now, I don't think we're going to see any more green flag pit stops right now, and the field is decently spread out. I think this is the perfect time for pump up the intensity. So here we go. Right, so that is pump up the intensity for you, and still we have Colin Williams still in the lead right now. He's going by a few lap cars right now, but Isaiah Gill continuing to chase him. In fact, he's actually looking low under him right now. The battle's
Isaiah didn't quite have the grip there to make that stick. He had to get out of the throttle and hit the brakes in order to avoid washing up into Colin, and that's something he's going to struggle with when he looks to the inside.
Wow, as you say that, we see Isaiah Gill. He takes it to the outside to try to see if that's how he's going to be able to get by Colin Williams. Right now, he's at Colin's door, and actually, as we cross the line, he gets a great run on the front stretch, and he has the nose right now. Can he get clear? Looks like he's clear at the moment, but right now they're having to deal with a lap car.
Yeah, that was very aggressive by Isaiah. He may have taken Colin a little bit by surprise. He took it 3 wide, went on the high side in between Colin in a lap car, and able to use his lap cars at his advantage. And all of a sudden, after getting the lead, you see him already start to show his strength and his speed as he's opening up a gap between him and Colin.
Yeah, Isaiah Gill, I don't know if he was maybe saving or anything, but he's looking very, very fast right now. You love to see it for him. Let's see. We do have a battle currently for 5th. We see Dave Wright just continuing to fall back after. Oh, and actually, I think we might be seeing some green flag pit stops start to happen. We see Todd Mays and Gannon Cyphers come in. I don't know. Let me look at Gannon and see what he's doing. Oh, no, he missed his pit stall. That's going to hurt him. And yes, we do see Gannon and Todd taking tires. I think this is going to maybe start a wave of drivers coming in. I don't know how much longer we're going to see Isaiah Gill and Colin Willems stay out.
And when Gannon and those other guys who are pitting come out back onto the track, they're going to be significantly faster than the rest of the field on those fresh tires. And that's a concern. If you're the leader, you don't want to let the field run too many laps with that advantage. Otherwise, when you finally make your pit stop and come out, you will have given up a lot of ground to them that you have to make up. So the clock is ticking on these guys to make their pit stop now that the green flag stops have begun.
You see Cheeseburger coming in to take tires. Yeah, I think we're going to really start to see a wave of drivers come in. We're seeing a great battle right now currently for 3rd between Brian Nudie and Devin Buccino. Devin Buccino getting back into the top 3 for the first time in a long time. And oh my gosh, Colin Willems, your 2nd place driver, coming into the pits in kind of a surprise move there.
Yeah, I'm surprised, Atlee. I thought that he would be looking to stay out longer. But now that he has made that decision to pit, I think that that's going to really influence the rest of these guys and almost force them to go ahead and make their pit stops as well. You want to keep in touch with the leader as much as you can.
Here we see
We'll see if Isaiah comes in.
Yep, he's dipping down onto the apron and finally onto pit road. I don't know if anybody else is going to follow behind Isaiah. I know we saw YXU teammates Colin Willems and Nick Mather come in. I don't know if you might see any of the other operators drivers coming with Isaiah Gill. And with Isaiah Gill coming in, we see Devin Buccino in the lead. So he's going to be our 3rd leader of the race besides Isaiah Gill and Colin Willems, and he's going to try to keep it. We see a battle for 2nd right now. Dave Wright is right on Brian Nudie's back bumper, and actually, I think Dave Wright is coming in right now. We did have a shout out for him on Facebook. Mary Wright says, go DW. And oh, we also see Devin Buccino, your leader, coming in.
So David Wright finally going to make that pit stop. And if we have a late caution, he's going to have another set on layaway in case he needs it. So this could really work out for him. We'll have to see. He was able to make that long run work to the point that he pitted at the same time as the leaders. So really, hats off to him. Fantastic execution of that long play.
Right now, with Dave Wright coming in, Brian Nudie is currently your new leader. He is the 4th leader of the race, and the field is beginning to start to get spread out. We do see a little bit of a battle going on for 5th right now, or 4th actually, between Kyle Mays and Brian Merle Jr. Mays right now looking low. Side by side between these two, and wow, we'll see. These are both, by the way, both of these drivers are playoff drivers.
Yeah, Junior washing way up the track there. If you get into that dark portion of the track up near the wall, that's really not the preferred line. You're going to have a hard time battling from that high up on the track. He does it again here, and I think that's going to be enough to give the 55 the position, although Brian holding on strong, not going anywhere, so this battle's going to continue.
And I will say behind them we have Stoney Benfield as well, watching in case either of these two make a mistake. Eddie Morris into the pits. He was running in the top 3, and he finally is making his way into the pits. So he's coming in to get tires, and we'll see if he can make his way up through the field. But still, Brian Nudie remains in the lead. I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to stay out. So we see Kyle Mays finally able to make it by Brian Morris Jr. And here comes Stoney Benfield looking to get by Brian Morris Jr. for fourth.
And if I'm Brian Merle Jr., I'm losing positions on track, and I'm also behind on the pit cycle. I think I would duck that thing down on the pit road and get some tires at this point. But you know, I'm sure he's thinking ahead to where he thinks he needs to be for the end of this race, and right now he's deciding to stay out.
I will say with Brian, he might still be having a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder from last week where he ran out of fuel and ended up giving Kyle Mays the win. I don't think he wants another situation like that, so he might... Oh, my gosh! Caution flag is out. This is big.
Yeah, Eddie Morris just bent his truck in half trying to come into the pits and hitting the wall. Big incident. I believe he was the only car involved, but wow, what a big impact.
There we go. We see Eddie Morris. He was running alongside Josh Hall. And he had just come off the pits, too, with fresh tires. And, ooh, just right off of 4. Gets it loose. I think the tires might have been cold for him, and I mean, hey, that happens. And oh no, please say it doesn't hit. Right into the tires. That's terrible.
Yeah, big impact there. He's lucky he didn't get caught up on that thing, because then he would have had to reset. But yeah, that was a big hit. And you know, this really worked out great for Brian Canuti. He's going to be able to come in and pit under caution and not lose a lap, and that's going to trap several trucks a lap down. People like Nick Mather, Michael Cheeseburger Lawrence, TJ Floyd, Todd Mays, several others are going to be a lap down now. So that's going to cut the field of competitors in half as far as who's able to lead this race as we approach 30 laps to go.
So let's see who's going to be able to win the race off of pit road out of all these cars that stayed out. Let's see, there's, Nudi's first across the line. Then we see Mark Shavers, Kyle Mays, Stoney Benfield. And then side by side we see Brian Merle Jr. is the next off. But we did see a few drivers stay out. Dave Wright, he stays out. Devin Buccino stays out. Colin Willems stays out. And Isaiah Gill stays out. So interesting decision by these 4.
Well, they had just pitted 5 or 10 laps ago, and I don't believe they have any tires left, so not much reason for those guys to pit.
I know Gill, Willems, and Buccino, they don't have any tires left, but I know Dave Wright, he does have a set of tires left.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know. We might see him play a card and go in to take those fresh tires later on.
If he does, that'll be exciting. He'll find himself in the back of the pack with far superior tires and having to make a hard charge through the field towards the end. That would be something to see at a track like this.
That would be wild for sure. We do have some people in the Facebook chat. Cassie Willems says, let's go Colin and Mather. Right now, Colin Willems doing a great job. He is your leader. And let's see, where's Nick? Nick Mather right now. He is in 15th. Nick Mather is under a whole lot of pressure right now. He's currently last in the playoff standings, but if he can get a good finish, a top 10 or a top 5, he might be able to squeak by enough to get into the top 8. I don't know. It's going to take a lot. He's definitely a dark horse, but we'll see.
And if you want to get an idea of how much that caution was perfect timing for Brian Canuti, he was able to pit and come out of the pits, and he currently sits in 5th place. So dropping only from 1st to 5th despite pitting, that's pretty good, especially considering that there's currently 5 trucks 1 lap down because they had to pit under green. So a very stark contrast between results for people who had to pit either under green or the benefit of the caution.
And the lights on the pace car are currently out, so we're getting ready to go back green this time by. Colin Willems is going to be restarting on the bottom. Isaac Gill is going to be restarting on the top. Here we go. And green flag is back out there. We see Isaiah Gill taking off, and we actually do see a battle right now for third. Here comes Devin Buccino looking low. We see Dave Wright looking to the high side above Colin Willems. Wow. Devin Buccino able to have the nose over Dave Wright as we go onto the backstretch. Great battle for third. Ooh, they almost make contact there.
Devin Buccino's been waiting all race long for a chance to get at these leaders. I'm sure he's licking his lips. Wasn't able to get the job done against David, who we know has shown a lot of speed and a lot of skill around this track here tonight. So he's going to settle in now. Devin Buccino is into fourth place.
Right now, Dave Wright, he is right now trying to get up there to Colin Willems. He's looked low, he's looked high, he can't quite get under him, but this is great to see for Dave Wright, who is on a whole different strategy than what Colin, his strategy. There he goes. He looks to the high side, actually, but that's actually going to hurt him a little bit. Devin Buccino's going to look low.
Devin Buccino, though, has got a hungry Mark Shavers right behind him. He's going to look to the low side and try to make this pass as he looks low, looks underneath Devin Buccino. Will Devin get the run on the high side to maintain his position? Not quite able to clear Mark. They're going to go side by side into turn 3.
Oh, I don't know. I think Devin Buccino, he was almost clear. And these two, while they're battling, we see Kyle Mays is also there as well. Wow, the field is extremely tight right now.
Toward the back of the pack, Josh Hall and Zach McBride come together.
Oh!
Zach spins. Oh, we got a big wreck. Mark Shavers hits the wall hard.
Caution flag is out. Let's take a look at what happened. And that was up front. Oh, my gosh. That's wild. Let's see what happened. All right, here we go. So we saw Shavers and Mays were side by side. And it doesn't really happen until turns 1 and 2 where, oh, Kyle Mays goes down right into Mark Shavers and both of these two into the wall.
Yeah, I couldn't really tell if Kyle scraped the wall and it kind of pushed him down the track, or did he not know Mark was there, or what exactly happened there. But unfortunately, coming straight down into the side of the 45 and turning him around.
We see Brian Merle Jr. also gets involved. Man, I hate to see it for a lot of those drivers, just because I know they were running up front, they were doing good. Drivers like Mark Shavers, and of course that had to happen. So I mean that's terrible. We do see both Josh Hall and Mark Shavers into the pits. I know both of them were involved in an incident. And Nick Mathers coming in as well. Oh, we see TJ Floyd, Todd Mays, and Gannon Cyphers coming in. Interesting decision by those drivers.
Yeah, meanwhile, we see Isaiah with his patented drive-through of the pace car.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Oh, we see, I believe that is Michael White. He's going to get the lucky dog and get back onto the lead lap. That's good for him because he's going to be back into contention for this race. We see Maria Bodnar Madsen says on Facebook, get up there, Brian. I'm not sure which Brian. Let's see. I believe it's Merle. I think it's Merle Jr. Right now, Brian Merle Jr., he's in the top 10, running very, very good. He's got to get a good finish tonight because he's right now he's the first driver below the cutoff. And if he can get a good finish, preferably a few spots ahead of Todd Mays, then he definitely has a chance to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, right now he's about 8 spots ahead of Todd Mays, and also Nick Mather was on the bubble, I believe, as well, and he's in 14th. I think he probably had a good enough cushion to keep his spot over Brian Merle Jr. if things ended the way they are now. But if Mather falls much further back, it could be up in the air.
For sure. And I actually want to do a quick flyby through the field of all the playoff drivers. So here we go. We got Colin Willems. He's in first. Isaiah Gill in second. Brian Nudie is in 5th. Kyle Mays is in 7th. Brian Merle Jr. in 8th. Then you have to go all the way down to Nick Mather in 14th. Todd Mays in 16th. Josh Hall is in 18th. And then we have Derek Chaput in 20th. And I believe, oh yes, we have Zach McBride in 23rd. And Eddie Morris in 25th. So there we go. Those are all the playoff drivers and where they all are at in the field right now. All right, so lights on the pace car off, so we're getting ready to go back green. Isaiah Gill will be restarting on the bottom. Colin Willems restarting on the top. Here we go.
Lap 79 will be when we take the green flag here. Just 21 laps remaining in this race. It's time to go. Not much time left to be patient. No more planning. It's time to execute and see if you can find yourself in the lead when the checkered flag flies. 20 laps to go here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
All right, here we go. The fans are on their feet. We're getting ready for a great finish here. Pace car's in. Green flag is back out. There we go. We see Isaiah Gill taking off, and right off the bat, he slides in front of Colin Willems. And Colin Willems' little crossover there, he's looking low, or he was trying to look low under Isaiah Gill. He can't quite get up there to the rear quarter panel. Side by side for third between Dave Wright and Devin Buccino. These two have been going at it for a while now. Devin Buccino right now has the nose. He's running on the top. Oh, and both. Oh, they make contact. Oh, no. Devin Buccino washes up the track tremendously, and Dave Wright is now going to take that third spot, but he's not going to hold on to that third spot for long because here comes Brian Nudie looking low under him.
And that's not the first time we've seen that happen to Devin tonight. I'm sure that's frustrating. Luckily, Devin didn't fall too far back. He's able to keep it going here in 5th place, and he'll look to get back up here and battle David again.
Oh, we see a car go through the grass. I believe that's Michael Lawrence. There goes Brian Nudie. He is able to get by Dave Wright for 3rd place, and now Brian Nudie is going to set his sights on the top 3, or excuse me, the top 2. It's really, throughout this race, it's all pretty much been all Isaiah Gill and Colin Willems. We haven't really seen a third piece to the puzzle, but I don't know. We'll see if Brian Nudie can get up there. Oh, and we're seeing some hard racing between... Oh! Dave Wright and Devin Buccino make contact! But both of them are able to save that. Once again, we've seen some hard racing between those two throughout this race. Wow.
Wow, it's just somehow that didn't turn into an accident. That was something. It looked like Devin was going to go airborne there for a minute, but gravity took control, I suppose. David Wright, through all of that, maintains his 4th spot, although he's lost touch with the leaders, unfortunately for him, and he's got a lot of trucks in his rearview mirror.
He does. Right now, he's under attack from both Brian Merle Jr. and Stoney Benfield, both of them just trying their hardest to get by Dave Wright. I know Stoney Benfield, he's trying to look low under Dave, and I don't know what Brian Merle Jr. is trying to do. You see Merle Jr. to the high side. Who knows? That I think the high side works here. Let's see what Brian Merle Jr. can do. Oh boy, we actually have a battle brewing here for second. Brian Nudie is actually beginning to catch up to Colin Willems here. I think we're going to have a great battle for second here coming up.
I think so, and this is something that we've seen from Brian this season.
Oh, caution flag.
Looks like Zachary Cox was involved, yeah.
Let's see what happened to him. This looks like Zachary Cox was side by side with Nick Mather. And oh, he just gets loose off of exit of 2. We haven't really seen that happen too much here. We've mainly seen drivers get loose off of 4, and Michael White has nowhere to go except for right into that 51. looks like only a 2-car incident. I'm surprised that the caution came out. I guess just because, you know, Zachary Cox had a lot of bad damage, and I don't think I'm not sure. I mean, it was a pretty decent, hard hit there between Michael White and Zachary Cox.
Yeah, you know, Adley, we've seen 3 and 4 truck pileups that didn't result in a caution on the night. Isaiah to the pits.
Wow, that's an interesting move by him. Dave Wright, Michael Provolt, and Devin Buccino all go into the pits. We see Colin Williams faked out Isaiah Gill, and he is gonna stay out. So I don't think Isaiah has a set of tires left. What is he gonna do?
Well, I was gonna say maybe I miscounted the tires he's got. It looks like he is getting tires, so maybe he does have a set left.
Interesting, but with Isaiah Gill coming in, that's gonna give Colin Williams the lead now, and I don't know. This is going to be interesting to see here. We see Derek Chaput getting his lap back. He's going to be back on the lead lap and back into contention for this race. Chaput needs to have a good finish tonight to get in to advance to the round of 8. He's currently in 6th. He's sitting pretty good. He's not exactly in the bubble, but a bad finish will hurt him tremendously.
A lot on the line for these drivers. We're going to have about 12, 11 laps to go. So it's been a long season in the making. These guys have been racing since May and June to get a chance to run for this championship, and it could all end tonight for some of these guys. So they're all going to be looking to push hard here in these final laps.
We do have a few drivers coming into the pits right now. We see Zachary Cox coming in and a few others. I think a lot of them getting some damage fixed. I know a lot of these drivers are probably in damage debt right now, where they have a lot of damage, but they haven't really taken the time to come in and fix it, so they've just built up a bunch of damage, and I think a lot of these drivers are coming in and just paying off all that damage debt and getting it all fixed.
Damage debt, I like that. We'll have to add that to the Atlee book of broadcast sayings.
Yep, purchased now on Amazon for $19.99. I'll have to add that to the Atlee announcing dictionary, your announcing book for anybody who wants to try out announcing. Since I started announcing last year in March, I've came up with April, I came up with a lot of weird sayings, so I guess we're going to have to add that. Jeez.
Yeah, we'll add that to the pole sitter getting a scorching time, and a few other good ones that pop up every now and then.
I do say that a lot, but we're getting ready to go back green here for a great final stretch of laps here, and Colin Williams, he's going to be racing on the bottom, Brian Nudie on the top.
So Isaiah Gill choosing to pit takes him out of the picture, at least temporarily. We've seen him involved in the restart almost every restart this race. So now we've got Colin Williams leading the charge with Brian Canuti, Brian Merle Jr., Stoney Binfield, and Keith Miller making up the top 5. A couple new names here at the top. Can they make a run at this lead as we close on the finish of this race, coming to the flag with 12 to go?
Yeah, except for the starting lineup when I was talking about everybody's scorching times. I haven't said Keith Miller's name at all, so it's cool to see that he's up here in the top 5 running good in that Duff beer machine. But here we go. Colin Williams takes off, and he's able to get ahead of Nudie, and we're side by side for 3rd. And, oh, no, we had a wreck as soon as the green flag dropped.
Nick Mather around, hitting the inside wall.
That's definitely
one of the intensity trucks was around as well.
Looks like, yeah, that was Dave Wright. But yeah, I hate to see that for Mather. That's going to definitely hurt his playoff chances. But let's see what happened here on this restart. He was restarting side by side. Him and Gannon Cyphers were starting side by side. And I don't know if Todd Mays missed a shift or something, but he was slowed down tremendously and kind of started a pileup. We see Gannon Cyphers gets involved, Nick Mather, Michael White. Are you hearing anything on the radio? Has Todd Mays said anything about like whether he missed a shift or anything?
People are asking, hey, did somebody miss a shift? Did somebody slow down? What happened? But nobody's owned up to it yet. It certainly looks to me like something happened with Todd. Nick had to check up to avoid hitting him, and behind. Then it was just an accordion effect from there.
I mean, that was a wild finish. I think either, Kyle either missed a shift or started in fourth gear. That seems to be the case. I know. I do that. It happens to the best of us. I did that on Monday, and I messed up a lot of people's races because of it. So it happens to the best of us. But there's no worse feeling than having something like that happen, because you feel so bad for everything that was involved and happened, and you just, man, I feel so bad for Todd Mays right now.
Yeah, I actually stopped using my H pattern shifter and went back to the paddle shifts behind my steering wheel. I just got tired of running the risk of missing a shift or something. It's just a lot easier to use the paddles. Perhaps it's a little less realistic, but I'd rather race well. So that was the decision I made.
I messed up. I used paddles as well, and I still ended up messing up and starting in fourth gear on Monday's race. So once again, I mean, it happens to the best of us. And the main thing is that you got to recover from it and just keep on chugging. And right now, Todd Mays is still on the top 10, and I don't think he's going to let that affect him, and he's going to try to finish it off with a great finish. I know he's the first driver above the cutoff line, so he needs a good finish if he wants to be in the playoffs for another round.
So, Adley, you'll have to remind me on who on Facebook requested to see Brian Merle Jr. up front. Can't remember who that was, but her wish is going to be granted. Brian Merle Jr. is going to be restarting here in the third position. What a great run for him. A lot on the line for him. He needed to really execute tonight to have a chance at advancing in the playoffs. He's put himself in position to do just that.
Yep, he's the first driver below the cutoff, 7 points behind 8th place driver Todd Mays. And I think if he finishes third right now, if he finishes where he is and Todd Mays finishes where he is, it's going to be close. I mean, what I'm seeing is there's still a chance. There's still a chance for sure for Brian Merle Jr. So you're telling me there's a chance. All right, lights on the pace car off, so we're getting ready to go back green. Colin Willems restarting on the bottom. Brian Nudie on the top, and Maria Bodnar Madsen says on Facebook his mom requested to watch Brian Merle Jr. So interesting. Once again, Brian Merle Jr. He's got his mom watching on Facebook. He's got to do really, really well now.
Well, we got about 8 laps to go. This is going to happen quick. These laps turn fast here in New Hampshire, so not a lot of time left. Can Junior Nation do it? What about Brian Canuti, Colin Willems? Stoney Binfield's in 4th place. Don't forget about Keith Miller. A lot on the line for these guys.
So here we go. Pace car's in, and green flag is out. There goes Colin Willems. Take it off, and no! Brian Merle Jr.'s in the... Oh, my gosh!
Oh, no. Atlee, what happened?
We're going to see it here on this wreckage replay. I am very, very sorry I jinxed it. I feel so bad now. I'm very, very sorry.
I'm sorry to everybody at home rooting for Brian Merle Jr., but that was just perfect timing. I can't believe it.
This is heartbreaking. What the? Oh, all right, so here's what happened. Brian Merle Jr., he was restarting in third, had Stoney Binfield outside of him. And we see Stoney Binfield just slides down right into Brian's rear quarter panel. Both of them get right into the wall.
I almost want to say maybe there was net code there. It seemed like they weren't making contact until suddenly Junior maybe went up the track just a little bit, and suddenly he was around as he got into the...
Yeah, this needs... I'm gonna watch this replay once again. Wow, that's wild. Here we go. Let's watch it again here. And right now we're watching the left front of Stoney Binfield. Just so you know. There was contact.
Yeah, well, certainly right there was. But it looked like 74 was already sliding a little bit as he came up towards Stoney.
I don't know.
I'm sure I'm sure this is one of those where both guys feel like they didn't do anything wrong, and sometimes things are racing deals, but
Yeah, if I was racing control, I would call it definitely a racing deal. I mean, it, from just watching the replay over and over again, that was like, it was very, very hard to determine. I would call it a racing deal. In my opinion, I don't think it was a fault of any one driver. And I'm interested to see, what race control Bailey Jones is going to decide to do on Dylan. Be keeping track of that to see, what's race control's decision is going to be.
yeah, she's had her hands full tonight. Lots of decisions being made by race control, lots of incidents to review, so not a lot of time to do it at a track like this. So we'll have to see what the decision is. So far, no update.
Wow. And once again, I know there was people cheering on Facebook for Brian Merle Jr. and I pulled a Justin Tucker situation where I was just talking about how good he was doing, and then he got in a wreck.
He immediately got wrecked, like
immediately. I'm used to me doing that. I'm used to it happening with announcers because I'm a Ravens fan, and every time Justin Tucker goes up to kick a field goal, Justin Tucker's the most accurate kicker in the NFL. He makes every single kick, and then he misses it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it never fails with kickers.
And then it's the same thing in racing. Announcers are, man, you're either doing a very good job calling the race, or you're messing up people's races. And I used to be, back in like September of last year, I was terrible. If I even uttered your name, the next lap you were into the wall. But it's gotten better, but then I think it's starting to happen again, where every single time I utter somebody's name, something bad happens to them.
So turning back to the playoff picture here, Todd Mace has found his way up to 6th place. That's probably going to give him what he needs to find his way into the 8th spot cutoff line, as Nick Mather continues to run back in 19th. So I think as of now, Todd's got the leg up as long as he can hold this top 10 position.
I agree, but like we saw with Brian Merle Jr., anything can happen here in these final few laps. So let's see what happens. Maria Botturn-Madsen on Facebook says, start uttering a bunch of names. Colin Williams, Brian Nudie, blah, 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 blah. All right, green flag is back out here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I was about to call it Colin Williams Speedway. He's done a great job all throughout this race. But Brian Nudie, he's right there on Colin's back bumper, and we see a wreck.
This is a big one, actually. Lots of guys around.
And oh no, it looks like Brian Merle Jr. is involved in this one too, as well as Nick Mather.
Derek Chapu with heavy damage.
Oh, so it looks like it was in front of Mather. We see Isaiah Gill was around. He got into Todd Mays. Michael White involved. And we see Josh Hall was moving down the track, and oh, wow. See Brian Roach.
And when you think of Isaiah Gill choosing to go into the pits a few cautions ago, puts him in the back of the field, and now caught up in this incident, that is definitely the risk that you take when you put yourself in the back of the field late in the race, when you have to make aggressive moves to try to get your way back to the front.
And that's exactly what happens. Isaiah Gill was making an aggressive move. He made it 3 wide with Josh Hall and Michael White, and then he was making a pass by Todd Mays, and Josh Hall, he makes contact with Mays, and Mays gets right in to Isaiah Gill. It's kind of a domino effect per se, and then we see just the chain reaction of boom, 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 boom. A bunch of drivers getting involved. Ow. Man. A ton of great drivers getting involved in that one. I hate to see it. And that's going to shake up the playoff picture even more, with a lot of playoff drivers getting involved in that one.
And as you mentioned, Josh Hall making initial contact there, and was given the EOL for causing that wreck. A controversial decision on the radio. A lot of guys questioning whether that was the right call. But from what you and I saw, it did look like he maybe got into the wall or something, but made that initial contact.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if maybe Todd got a little bit later start than Josh Hall was expecting. He just got right into his back bumper too soon, but wow.
Well, that's going to put us in a green-white checkered situation as we head to overtime. Now that we're already on lap 100, but we're going to have to get more than one lap under green to end this race. So we've had several cautions now on the restart. Hopefully, these guys can get it turned 4 times around the track and take a white flag so we can see a resolution here to this battle between Colin Williams and Brian Canuti.
Yeah, this has been some. And what in the world is Colin Williams doing? He's ahead of the pace car. I bet the pace car is very, very angry about that. Especially the driver. I feel like the pace car driver, he deserves to be up front. He deserves it. I mean, the pace car driver. He works so hard and just keeping a great pace for these drivers. And to have somebody ruin it and get in front of the pace car driver, I'm very disappointed in Colin Williams.
Well, I think Colin wants to lead the most laps tonight, and right now the pace car probably has.
That is true. That is true. And there we go. Lights on the pace car are off, so we're getting ready to go back green here. Colin Williams, he's going to be restarting on the bottom. Brian Newty restarting on the top. Right. Behind them, it's going to be Keith Miller and Gannon Cyphers, and then after that, it's TJ Floyd and Stoney Benfield.
This will be a 2-lap shootout to the finish. We call it a green-white checkered, as that's the order of the flags. So Colin Williams will take the green flag here with 2 laps to go. If there's another caution before the white flag flies, they will get another attempt at a green-white checkered, 2 more actually. But if the white flag flies and the leader takes the white flag, the race will end. There'll be no more cautions.
All right, pace car's in. And green flag is out. There we see Colin Williams taking off. He's able to get ahead of Brian Newty. Here comes Keith Miller. He's side by side with Gannon Cyphers here as we head into turns 1 and 2. But Gannon Cyphers gets a great run on the outside, and he gets clear of Keith Miller. So now it's going to be all down to these top 3. What's going to happen? Oh, we see Zachary Cox is around. I don't know if that's going to bring out the caution or what. Can Gannon Cyphers get under Brian Newty? We'll see.
White flag is in the air for Colin Williams. This will be the last lap of the race. Can Brian Canuti get a run on Colin? Perhaps get to his bumper. We got a big wreck behind him, but the caution will not come out. This will be the final lap.
Can they make it to the end? Right now, it's Colin Williams, Brian Newty, Gannon Cyphers. Looks like we do have a battle for third. Keith Miller trying to look under Gannon.
Colin Williams is going to win this race. Brian Canuti is going to be second. And Gannon's going to hold on, I think.
Oh, what a finish right there. Wow. Gannon Cyphers barely beating Keith Miller. What a race. And I believe this is Gannon Cyphers' first start in the iOS Truck Series. We'll have to ask him in the interview, but wow, what a race. Gannon Cyphers third, Brian Newty second, Colin Williams first. Not to be outdone, fourth was Keith Miller, and fifth was TJ Floyd. Here's something interesting. Keith Miller ran his fastest lap on the race there on that final lap, and I don't blame him. I would be full send if I had a chance to get a top 3.
Absolutely. And Todd Mays did not have a good green-white checkered. He's going to come home in 14th. Nick Mather was 7 points ahead of him in the standings. He finished 19th. So it's going to be close. I'd have to verify and look at the points, but that might have been enough for Nick Mather to hold on to that 8th and final playoff spot.
We will see. We had, let's see, so Colin Williams was a playoff driver. He finished first. Brian Newty finished second. And then a playoff, Brian Merle Jr., he did good. He finished 7th. Kyle Mays 9th. Isaiah Gill 11th. Josh Hall 12th. Todd Mays 14th. Nick Mather 19th, Derek Chapu 20th, Zach McBride 22nd, Eddie Morris 25th. I don't know. I don't know if Todd Mays was able to hold on. It's going to come down to the wire between Todd Mays and Brian Merle Jr. for that final playoff spot. And also, I don't know how it's going to go for Josh Hall, who got 12th. And he was running in 7th. But there you go. We saw the burnout for Colin Willems. And we're waiting for the top 3 to get into the waiting room. What a race here at New Hampshire. And we do have Brian Nudie and Gannon Cyphers in the waiting room. So let's go ahead and pull in third place finisher Gannon Cyphers. Here we go. Hey, Gannon, this is Atlee and Dylan in the broadcast booth. Do you have a copy?
What was that?
I said this is Atlee and Dylan in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Awesome. Well, what a race for you. I mean, you were tied for the biggest move of the race, started in 20th in the back of the pack, and we really didn't say your name too much, but you had a great pit strategy. You were able to pass a ton of cars, avoid the wrecks, and eventually coming to the final few laps, you were in the top 5, restarted in the second row, and we saw an amazing fight between you and Keith Miller for third there, coming to the final stretch. It was a photo finish. I believe it came down to the thousandths of a second between you and Miller. And in the end, you ended up taking third. Now, I have to ask, was this your first race in ever this season in the Iowa Truck Series?
It was. I've been away. I do a lot of stuff on the side. I bowl and golf and do everything else. I raced a while back quite a bit, and I kind of stepped away for a while. It's good to be back. I talked to Brian earlier in the day, and I'm in a couple of the other leagues, like the Cup Series. I haven't raced very much, but I just asked if I could get back, and you just said race clean, get the playoff drivers a little extra room. So I tried to stay out of the way, but took advantage of what I had handed to me. I'm glad you guys thought it was a good pit strategy, because I was a little worried there in the middle of the race, but it worked out in the end.
Gannon, I thought you showed a lot of patience out there, and it makes sense that you were trying to stay out of people's way. Perhaps that was part of it, but in the end, I think that you showed a lot of patience and were able to really execute out there. Talk to me a little bit about New Hampshire and the challenge that it posed for you guys tonight. A lot of people struggled with their corner entry and sort of finding grip. Did you feel like the track drove well tonight?
I felt like I handled it pretty well, since I just bought the track at about 5:30 today. So I was pretty new to it. I mean, I've watched a lot of races. I watch every week, every night, whether I'm at home or not. I watch these guys race, and I watched them race here. I think it was last week or whatever, and I kind of knew what to do, and I got a little help from the Discord. Everybody in there did a great job helping me and kind of getting me out there. And like I said, I just try to stay out of trouble, and there's low, high, break sooner, break later. I mean, everybody had a little different strategy, I think. And, I mean, there was guys that were fast all day that just got into some trouble. And I'm just glad I could stay out of it and, at the end, get a podium finish.
Well, awesome job once again. Is there any sponsors you would like to thank before we let you go?
I don't do this enough to thank sponsors. I just like to thank people and Brian for the opportunity tonight. It means a lot. Shows that he trusts me and thinks that I can race with these guys week after week, even though I don't come out here. And I like to thank, I mean, the Merles, they do a lot. I know Brett wasn't here tonight, and Junior, between iRacing, helped me get into it from the start, and helping me at the local track around here. They do a lot for me, so I just like to thank those guys. But other than that, thank you guys for broadcasting, whether I'm racing or not. You guys put on a heck of a show for everybody to listen to and watch, so I like to thank you guys too.
Well, thanks for the shout out, and once again, first race of the season in this league. Step up and get a top 3. Awesome job, Gannon, and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, so that was Gannon Cyphers. Let's go ahead now and pull in Brian Nudie, your second place finisher. Here we go. Brian, this is Atlee and Dylan in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I got you, buddy.
Awesome. Well, wow, what an awesome race for you. Started the race in 8th, and you quickly made your way up through the field, and eventually You were in third most of the race behind Isaiah and Colin, and then when Isaiah went in with that pit strategy coming into the pits, you took advantage of that and you were fighting with Colin for those final few laps, but you just couldn't quite get up there. But overall, still an awesome race for you. I mean, what was your take on this race here at New Hampshire? Did you enjoy the race?
I enjoyed the first 90 laps of it, and then the last 15 laps or whatever were just kind of. It just sucks. We kept getting caution after caution after caution. I needed a long green flag run to kind of get Colin. He was definitely better on the shorter run, but I mean, in reality, the only reason I was faster at all is because I had fresher tires than he did. I was probably about the 6th or 7th fastest car tonight. There was a lot of other cars that are faster than me that just kept getting caught up in other stuff or making a bad decision on pitting like Isaiah.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that fake out, or at least that's what Isaiah had called it on the radio. Were you guys, was there a little gamesmanship there, or what did you actually think about pitting, or what kind of happened there? Talk me through that.
No, I never thought about pitting. I knew I had fresher tires and like if you can stay up on the high line and how many laps were left, I mean, fresh tires really weren't going to be that big of a difference unless everybody else came with them. And he says he was planning on pitting. I personally think Colin faked him out.
Got you. Well, man, you definitely had a great strategy, and it helped you so much that you were able to get a top 3 finish. Awesome run, Brian. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Oh yeah, as always, I gotta thank my beautiful wife for letting me do this. I gotta thank Gil's Dump Truck Service and Pizzeria, the fastest dump trucks in the Northwest, and also Marco's Pizza Sucks. That's for you, Mark. And then also got to give a shout out to Sharon. She's back home. We're all happy that she's back home. Got to give a call out to Colin. He did an awesome job. And then also got to give a shout out to Isaiah. You know, he's always there, just always making mistakes, killing himself. And the admins. And you guys do an awesome job.
Well, we're very, very happy to hear that Sharon has been found. We've been keeping all the viewers updated with the whole storyline and everything, so we're very, very happy to hear that.
I'm glad. I'm happy too. Very happy.
Very, very happy. Well, congratulations on second place, and have a great rest of your night, Brian.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right, and last but not least, we are getting ready to hear from your winner, none other than Colin Willems. Here we go. Colin, this is Atlee and Dylan in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Wow, looks like it was going pretty good out there for you as well. You were a dominant force all throughout this race. Started on the pole, and you led the first 3 laps. You lost the lead with the pit strategy, and when the caution came out, you inherited it back. You and Isaiah were battling back and forth all throughout this race, and he had the lead, but then he came in with an interesting pit strategy, and that was able to give you the lead, and you held on from there. I mean, what did you think of this race here at New Hampshire?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I had honestly had never done this track at all until last week in the Cup race, and I absolutely loved it. The trucks handled quite a bit differently than the Cup cars. The truck got tighter as the run went on, as where the Cup cars were getting looser. So a little bit of adapting to that change, but it's definitely a rhythm track. Once I got in a good rhythm that I established in practice, I felt really comfortable with the truck all night long.
Colin, it seemed like the high line really was working better than the low line for these trucks tonight. We saw some people, Brian Merle Jr. in particular, go very high, higher than I was expecting, and was able to find speed up there. Was that your take on it as well? I feel like the Cup cars might have been able to run the bottom a little bit better.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of guys doing that in the mirror, and when, like, even Isaiah, when he was in front of me, I noticed he was going quite a bit higher in the corner than I was. With the success I was having up front and the lack of experience I have with this track, I wasn't willing to venture at that point. You know, I had established my groove for the race, and it seemed to be working for me. If that meant, throughout a longer run, falling back to 4th or 5th, I was okay with that, rather than trying to venture out into something new and then making it worse on myself.
Got you. Well, once again, awesome run for you. Any sponsors you would like to thank before we let you go?
No, I just want to give a shout out to the Bot Squad. I'm quite pleased with today. This is my first truck win of the season, so I'm really happy about that. I want to thank my wife Cassie, my teammates at YXU, Nick Mather and Coralie as well. Anybody else who's watching out there, and I want to thank, most importantly, I couldn't have had this win without Isaiah Gill for making that pit stop right at the end, so I want to thank him for that.
Got it. Well, congratulations on the win here, Colin, and have a great rest of your night.
All right, thanks, guys.
Well, there you have it, folks. That was 100 laps at New Hampshire, and what a race. We got a little bit of everything. We saw a few cautions, we saw some green flag pit stops, and most of all, we saw a bunch of different strategies come into play.
Yeah, I thought it was a great one, Atlee. We had a really long green flag run that saw different pit strategies, different lines around the track, really showed everything that New Hampshire has to offer. And then a lot of cautions, a lot of restarts, just showing how tricky and how challenging this track is for these drivers. Ultimately, Colin Williams got the win. Brian Canuti got second. Gannon Cyphers got third. And those were the guys who were consistent all night long and were able to execute their strategy towards the end. So the right guys finished up front. And all in all, I think it was a great race.
And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to watch this great race here on Intensity Broadcasting. As always, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Intensity Broadcasting on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, as it would be greatly appreciated. Check us out on Twitter, Intensity Broad 1. We are always posting on there. And then if you haven't already, if you own a Roku TV or Amazon Prime TV, Fire TV, as it's called, then make sure to download the eRacing TV app 7 nights a week. There's iRacing action on there, and you don't want to miss what's on there. So I'm Atlee Atman-Wees, and on behalf of the entire Intensity Broadcasting team, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Over